Tonight on News at 9, Qatar crisis. Diplomatic row continues to escalate.
First at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
Lane discipline. Traffic law will be strictly enforced from tomorrow. No extremism. Police vow legal measures against those who encourage religious and ethnic extremism. Bus fares. Private bus owners ask for fare hike. Deputy Minister says discussions underway. In your sports headlines, Champions Trophy. Australia joins New Zealand in tournament exit. The diplomatic rift in the Middle East continues to seethe, with Qatar remaining shut off by countries including Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates and Egypt. We start off tonight's broadcast with the latest developments from the Arab world. I'm Indivari Amwat. And in a controversial move today, Saudi authorities reportedly prevented Qatari nationals from entering the holy mosque in Mecca, making it a sharp escalation in the Middle Eastern diplomatic crisis. Qatari citizens who made the pilgrimage to Mecca and were barred from entering the Grand Mosque have lodged complaints with Qatari National Commission for Human Rights.
The Doha-based Al-Sharq publication reported that Qatari nationals were barred from entering the Masjid Al-Haram in Mecca, citing a complaint made to Qatar's National Commission for Human Rights by a Qatari pilgrim. The commission has denounced the incident, considering the step a violation of the right to perform religious rituals. Meanwhile, Qatar's National Commission for Human Rights said it will take legal action against Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Bahrain after receiving hundreds of complaints by citizens affected by the blockade imposed on the country. On a more optimistic note, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Bahrain today announced the creation of hotlines to help families with Qatari members, as many face the prospect of being split following orders to exit the countries. A Qatari statement attributed to its Interior Ministry by its state news agency said Qatar will not expel nationals from countries that cut ties, and they are free to remain in line with existing regulations. As food stocks in Qatar continue to suffer following the closure of its land border with Saudi Arabia, Iran's national courier says that 5 planes of food exports, including fruit and vegetables, have been sent to Qatar. 3 ships loaded with 350 tons of food were also set to leave an Iranian port for Qatar, according to Iranian media, and Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan has also promised continued assistance.
We move on to our local news. The lane traffic law will be strictly enforced in Colombo and its suburbs from tomorrow, according to the director of the Police Traffic Division, SP Sumit Nisanka. Stern action will be taken for any infraction of the law.
Detailing the enforcement of regulations, Director of the Police Traffic Division, Sumit Nisanka, added that special training in this regard has been given to traffic police officers.
It's more an ethic than a law that should be obeyed by drivers. The first subsection of the 148th article says that a vehicle should be driven on the left side unless it wishes to turn right or overtake. Disobeying this law will be a fault. The third subsection says that there should be a clear view of the road when overtaking. These days, when vehicles stop at traffic lights, some drive to the head of the line through small spaces.
Director of the Police Traffic Division also spoke about fines for traffic offences.
When these laws have been disobeyed, drivers have to accept their faults and pay their fine. If not, a case will be filed in court.
Sri Lanka Police meanwhile emphasized that strict legal measures will be taken against those who encourage religious and ethnic extremism in the country. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo today, police spokesperson Priyantha Jayakodi also revealed that several arrests have been made in connection with recent incidents.
In the past month, 2 Muslim religious places and several Muslim-owned businesses were set on fire. Further, within short periods, 4 businesses located in the Nugegoda and Vijayarama areas were also torched. One of the main suspects with regard to these 4 incidents has been arrested and is currently being questioned. It's been revealed that he had been in close contact with Galagodatte Gnanasara Thera. We also discovered that he had been participating in activities related to the Bodu Balasena organization. One Tamil individual has been arrested with regard to a vandalism incident in one of Trincomalee mosques. Meanwhile, a Muslim in Danture has also been remanded for disrespecting Lord Buddha on Facebook. Following that incident, a group of youths vandalized several Muslim houses in Danture, in connection to which we made 2 arrests. We are emphasizing that we are taking strict legal measures against any group or individual encouraging religious and ethnic extremism.
නීතිය තදින් ක්‍රියාත්මක කර ඔවුන් නීතිය හමුවට ගෙනීමටත් මේ වන විට කටයුතු සූදානම් කර තිබෙනවා. ගල්ගොඩත්තේ ඥානසාර
4 police units have been deployed to arrest the Thera. Accordingly, all legally relevant measures will be taken.
ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේව අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම නීත්‍යානුකූලව අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු සිදු කරේ.
Meanwhile, the Bodu Balasena organization denied all allegations today.
For a week now, many forces are trying to find these kinds of extremist incidents to pin on the Bodu Balasena. We are denying all these allegations. Our organization does not believe that problems can be solved with extremism or terrorism.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Mahindananda Alutgamage called Minister of City Planning and Water Supply Rauf Hakim to be responsible while making statements on alleged extremist incidents.
At an event in Kandy yesterday, Minister of City Planning and Water Supply Rauf Hakim expressed his views on recent incidents.
External organizations want to disrupt the peace that has been established in the country. I wouldn't name these organizations, although I understand how politics works in society. It's a campaign carried out against one particular religious community. We heard yesterday that a factory in Nawalapitiya had been set on fire. A similar incident happened in Mahiyangana as well. However, an unknown force seems to prevent all police investigations into these kinds of incidents. The intelligence departments are very aware of all these issues. I know where these incidents arise, but we cannot speak openly about them because they are very dangerous topics to bring up.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Mahindananda Alutgamage made an observational tour to the particular factory in Nawalapitiya today. The owners of the factory confirmed that the fire within the premises was not an act of arson.
An electric wire shorted in the factory and led to this fire. There might be rumours about the incident saying Sinhalese set the factory on fire. Minister Hakim must have heard them too, given the dialogue that has been created in society these days. But that really isn't what happened. There is no ethnic tension here at all between the Sinhalese and Muslims. A technical issue led to the fire in this factory. Minister Hakim said that this factory is one of his friends and that it was set on fire by the Sinhalese. This is a very serious statement and false regardless. The 2 owners of the factory are right beside me. I rang Minister Hakim this morning and made the owners speak to him about the misunderstanding. Minister Rauf Hakim's reply was that it was something he heard. As a government minister, making these kinds of irresponsible statements is unacceptable. So, respected minister, it would be good if you correct this statement.
Phase 2 of the Derana humanitarian initiative was worked off for a second day today, with the collection of school supplies for disaster-affected children coming to a successful close. Derana will now begin distributing the collected supplies to disaster-affected districts starting tomorrow.
Donors laden with school supplies for disaster-affected school children arrived at the Derana head office today as well, where volunteers continue to assist Derana in sorting and packaging the received aid for distribution.
We are here from the Interact Club of Ananda College. We are paired up with Derana Phase 2 to give our maximum support to help distribute stationery to the students who are affected by the floods.
I am an estate called Great Western Estate, and the workers of the estate have contributed a day's wage for this disaster.
We are from Velwana College, Colombo 9, and we are so privileged and humbled to join this most valuable effort to bring the good smile to the people or the children got affected.
I donate to the flooded children because they got flooded and they don't have a place to live.
Are you happy about it?
Yes. I'm am very happy to join Manusat Derana to give my donations. I like to help the people who have been caught by the flood.
I am the principal of the Shiho Japanese Academy. I noticed the Manusat Derana campaign on social media, and thus we came here together with our teachers and students. I trust these supplies will reach affected children.
The Nanda Dasa Kodagoda Foundation presented 260 sets of school supplies. Meanwhile, the Association of Friends of the Sri Lankan Community in Uganda also donated supplies to Manusat Derana. School bags, school uniforms, stationery and vouchers for school shoes were also donated to other collection centres across the country in Anuradhapura, Putlam, Kurunagala, Dambulla and Galle. The Manusat Derana Humanitarian Initiative will dispatch the collected school supplies to children in disaster-affected districts including Ratnapura, Kalutara, Galle and Matara.
We are going to the Ratnapura district Ehaliyagoda Educational Division. Nearly 21 schools we will cover tomorrow, and we are giving these stuffs to 1,375 students.
Meanwhile, the series of health camps for disaster-affected people conducted jointly by Manusat Derana and the Government Medical Officers Association continues with yet another camp held at the Unalla Jayanti Vidyalaya in Matara.
And we take a short break. We'll be back with more on the other side. The joint opposition declared its suspicion over the National Lotteries Board and Development Lotteries Board being reassigned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. UPF's MPs Bandula Gunawardena and Sisira Jayakudi told media today that this could be the first step in privatising both public institutions. However, Minister of Foreign Affairs Ravi Karunayaka assured that the country's development can be assisted with the new assignment to the Foreign Ministry.
This may be the first time in world history that a lotteries board has been put under the Minister of Foreign Affairs. When he was given the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the lotteries board did not come with it, which is fair enough. He pressured the authorities and demanded it. I think the rest of the world must be laughing at us. We have other examples. The Higher Education Ministry goes with the Highways Ministry. The Finance Ministry is joined with the Media Ministry. This is ridiculous. Yes, a no-confidence motion against the minister is already in the parliamentary order book. It should be taken up for debate. Otherwise, we will move for another. We are suspicious that the government is, very tactically, trying to privatize the lotteries board. We think that this could be the first step in doing so.
Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister Ravi Karunayaka details his plans for the Development Lotteries Board.
We accepted a country where citizens have been trapped. The recent floods also put you in more trouble. I assure you that the Development Lotteries Board will assist you in every way. I have plans to modernize the Lotteries Board and ensure that the country's development can be assisted by the funds of the Lotteries Board.
Another suspect has been arrested for aiding and abetting the attack on a police narcotics bureau unit last month. A total of 7 suspects have now been arrested, with 3 suspects having been arrested this month.
The shooting took place in Piliyandala on the 9th of May, injuring 4 civilians, including 3 children. A police constable and an 11-year-old girl were killed in the incident. Yesterday, a 7th suspect was arrested near the Kakirawa bus station during a raid. The person had allegedly assisted the perpetrators in the purchase of motorbikes used in the incident. The suspect has been identified as a 49-year-old resident of Rambukkana. The suspect was involved in several robberies across the country in 2009 and also has ongoing cases in the Balapitiya and Homagama magistrate courts.
And the Deputy Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Ashok Abesinghe, says discussions are underway regarding the annual revision of bus fares. Meanwhile, the Lanka Private Bus Owners Association demanded an increase in bus fares at a media briefing in Colombo today.
According to the price formulas indicated in the National Policy on Bus Fares introduced in 2002, bus fares must be revised on the 1st of July each year. The Lanka Private Bus Owners Association said bus fares must be raised given the current inflation.
Until 2017, bus fares were increased on 16 occasions and decreased on 4 occasions. In 2 particular years, bus fares weren't increased, which means the government was able to control inflation. I would like to say that this government was not able to control inflation during the last 2 years. Most likely, the bus fares will be increased by 6.5%.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Ashok Abesinghe also expressed his views on the increase of bus fares.
We are discussing this year's revision. Bus fares might be increased by 6 to 6.5% if we go ahead with a hike. We are also discussing a minimum bus fare. However, a definite decision on the increase of bus fares hasn't yet been made.
Showing early similarities to the building which collapsed in Vellavatta, several buildings along the Badulla Road in Bandarawela have begun to slant. Residents say that 2 houses and 3 buildings, including a tutorial centre, have already sustained damage. The National Building Research Organisation told Ada Derana that it is investigating the situation and the area was earlier marked as a risk zone.
A 3-story building has started to lean against an adjoining 6-story building and gigantic cracks were seen on its walls.
This building is my office and it was built 20 years ago. I've had no problems before. I don't understand whether it's because of the other building which is under construction or the Uma Oya issue. It's been impossible for us to do any work here.
Huge cracks have also appeared on the road which runs in front of the affected buildings. The NBRO said that the 6-story building has been constructed outside of the proposed plan, exceeding the permitted number of floors. As per area residents, the affected buildings are always crowded and unless immediate action is taken, people's lives will be in danger.
And USS Lake Erie, an American missile cruiser, arrived at the port of Colombo on a relief mission today. Upon her arrival, the cruiser was ceremonially welcomed by Sri Lanka Navy in accordance with naval tradition. During her 14-day visit, Lake Erie's 360 crew is expected to engage in a number of relief missions in the flood and landslide affected regions of the country. Several training engagements and drills related to disaster situations are also scheduled to be executed.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us. Getting out and about and helping where there's plenty of need. Thank you for that.
And the Chief of Staff of the Pakistan Navy, Admiral Mohammad Zakullah, arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday. The Pakistani Navy Chief was warmly received by the Commander of Sri Lanka Navy, Vice Admiral Ravindra Vijay Gunaratne, at the Bandaranaike International Airport. Defence Attaché to the Pakistani High Commission in Sri Lanka, Colonel Irshad Khan, also attended the occasion. Today, Admiral Zakullah visited the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic in Kandy. And during this week, the all-share price index declined by 0.3%, while the S&P SL20 index closed flat. Average turnover gained by 5% week on week to 871 million rupees. That was the week gone, but let's take a look at what we are to expect from the Colombo Stock Exchange for the new week. We have Dimantha Matthew now.
With the news on the sharp increase in foreign reserves and the continuously improving economic situation, it is likely to positively impact the investor sentiment for foreigners and locals. Thereby, we expect a positive direction for the market from the current dull sentiment. As a result, we also expect market activity and buying interest to improve in the upcoming week. Buying interest is likely to be concentrated on the big cap counters.
And in your international business story, Saudi Arabian Energy Minister Khalid Al-Falih said today that a drawdown in crude oil inventories will accelerate in the next 3 to 4 months. Speaking to media in Kazakh capital Astana, Falih also said that Saudi Arabia planned to grow exports to the United States in the long term. Meanwhile, shares in Qatari banks fell in early trade today after the Central Bank of the United Arab Emirates ordered UAE banks to be wary of any accounts they hold with 6 Doha-based banks. Qatari banks have about 60 billion riyals in funding in the form of customer and interbank deposits from other Gulf states, and the banks accounts for the half of the Qatari stock market's value. The Qatari stock market fell 1.3% this morning, and last week the Doha index shed 7.1% in total. And your top sports stories are coming up after this short break. To stay with us. In the Champions Trophy, Australia's Champions Trophy campaign came to an end last night, defeated by rain, the sheer aggression of a confident England side. In their first completed result of the tournament, the Australians suffered a Duckworth-Lewis adjusted defeat to the hosts, which confirmed Bangladesh as the second team to make it to the semi-finals.
Australia were put in by England, and despite the early loss of David Warner, put on a steady platform courtesy of Aaron Finch and Stephen Smith. After both departed for half-centuries, Travis Head went at better than a runner ball with his 71, but Australia faltered in the slog overs, with Mark Wood and Adil Rashid claiming quick wickets as England held their rivals to 277.
England will need 278 to win.
Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood moved the new ball and picked up 3 early wickets, but England's confidence never suffered. Ben Stokes and skipper Eoin Morgan were quick to find their range, scoring with abandon and keeping well ahead of the asking rate as rain loomed. By the time rain finally stopped play, Stokes reached an unbeaten 102 and England were 40 runs clear of the par score.
Rain is pretty set here. The game has been abandoned, which means England have won. They've beaten Australia.
And after the elimination of Australia last night and New Zealand on Friday, today's encounter between South Africa and defending champions India has resulted in South Africa's exit. South Africa started steady but suffered a spectacular collapse, going from 140 for 2 at one stage to 191 all out. India secured their semi-final berth just a few minutes ago, reaching their target for the loss of just 2 wickets.
There's another tight single. Nishwa Kumar. He charges. Doesn't get the contact he's off.
And in tennis, Jelena Ostapenko claimed a fairy tale first Grand Slam title last night, beating tournament favourite Simona Halep in the final of the French Open. The 20-year-old Latvian had never won a tour-level title before and becomes the first unseeded champion at Roland Garros since 1933.
Jelena Ostapenko lost the first set and was 3-love down in the second, but pulled off a stunning comeback, playing a carefree brand of attacking tennis. With 54 winners and 54 errors compared to 8 and 10 from Simona Halep, Ostapenko's power began to overwhelm her opponent's defense. Taking the second set 6-4 and the decider 6-3, Ostapenko stormed home with 5 straight games to claim the championship.
And Usain Bolt won his final 100-meter sprint on home soil, clocking 10.03 seconds in Kingston yesterday. Bolt, who will retire after August's World Championships in London, took control of the race before the halfway mark and pulled away to the delight of more than 30,000 spectators in Jamaica. Usain Bolt has amassed 8 Olympic golds and 13 World Championship medals and still holds the 9.58 second world record in the 100 meters and the 19.19 second world record in the 200 meters category. And with that, we take a short break. We'll be back with more from around the world after this. British Prime Minister Theresa May and Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party are still in talks over a deal which will see the DUP support a Conservative minority government on key votes in Parliament without a formal coalition. Downing Street earlier said the DUP, whose 10 seats in the new Parliament give May just enough support to pass legislation agreed in principle to a confidence arrangement. Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn told the BBC Today that he expects another election sooner rather than later.
While seeking to formalise her agreement with the DUP, Theresa May confirmed to German Chancellor Angela Merkel in a phone call yesterday that Brexit talks will begin on the 19th of June as scheduled, on the same day the UK Parliament formally reopens. EU Budget Commissioner Günther Oettinger, however, told the Frankfurter Allgemeine Sonntagszeitung newspaper that it may now be possible to discuss closer ties between Britain and the EU than May had initially planned given her election flop. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn was heavily critical of the political situation in the UK, which he called chaotic, and questioned the deal between the Conservatives and the DUP, saying they have no agreed positions.
I think it's quite possible there will be an election later this year or early next year, and that might be a good thing because we cannot go on with a period of great instability.
While British Minister of Defence Michael Fallon struck an optimistic note, former Tory Finance Minister George Osborne was fatalistic about May's prospects.
Oh yeah, I mean, Theresa May is a dead woman walking. It's just how long she's going to remain on death row.
Or 1 month after electing political novice Emmanuel Macron as president, French voters have returned to polling stations to choose their representatives in parliament. With voting currently underway, let us take a look at how the French parliamentary elections work.
A total of 7,882 candidates are vying for 577 parliamentary seats, 11 of which represent over 1.5 million French citizens living overseas. The election is held in 2 rounds, and candidates with more than 50% of first-round votes in their electorates win seats outright. If no candidate can exceed 50% of votes, those who win more than 12.5% will contest the second round next Sunday, where the winner takes the seat. Opinion polls have forecast major wins for French President Emmanuel Macron's fledgling party, La République En Marche, and it has already come first in 10 out of the 11 seats representing French expatriates. LREM fields candidates from all walks of life, over half of whom are women. Defeated presidential candidate Marine Le Pen's far-right National Front hopes to be LREM's main opposition. Among other major parties are the Conservative Republican Party, leftist movement France Unbowed, and the Socialist Party, which formed the outgoing government.
And that's all from our news centre for tonight on your primetime news at 9. But before we go, we'd like to take you to Bolivia, where dancers performed in the annual Lord of the Great Power Festival, which showcased a fusion of Christian as well as indigenous beliefs. Have a pleasant evening. Stay safe. Good night.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.